Are you a business owner looking to secure your financial future and create a lasting legacy? I'm Leah Garcia, a financial strategist and insurance professional, and I specialize in guiding businesses with up to 50 employees on how to effectively protect and transfer their wealth. We break down silos with my unique approach, the Wall of Wealth. Imagine a seamless collaboration among your CPA, tax attorney, estate planner, and insurance expert, each playing their part in perfect harmony, ensuring your financial strategy is not just effective, but a true masterpiece. My passion stems from my own journey, from growing up on food stamps to dreaming of building community centers that empower others. Together, we'll craft a roadmap that not only safeguards your assets, but also nurtures generational wealth for your loved ones. Let's transform your vision into reality. After all, you can't measure the heart of a champion just by looking at them. Join me, and let's make your financial future shine.
And we are live. Happy Wealthy Wednesday. Well, come on in, champions. Great to see you. If you're joining us live, we want to hear from you. This is your opportunity to network with each other. You know, this is for entrepreneurs and business owners, self-employed. Somebody is looking for you and what you do. So be prepared to go ahead and share your links and get to know each other. Well, my name is Leah Garcia, financial strategist and insurance professional. Today is one of my favorite days of the week. You know, we have Motivation Monday. I call it Money Monday. We got Tax Tips Tuesday, AKA Taco Tuesday. And today is Wealthy Wednesday, which I love Wealthy Wednesday. We got Thursday to Thrive. I don't have a Financial Literacy Friday, but that might be on the horizon. Listen, I think any day is a good day to talk about financial legacy, building generational wealth, and changing your last name forever. Great to see you, Mark. Thank you for joining us. So today we got an incredible topic. I would say today it's probably going to be one of those that you're going to want to take some notes and you're going to want to engage. We want to hear from you. We want to know what questions you have. I have an incredible speaker today, and our topic is building your support team and increasing your bottom line. Building your support team and increasing your bottom line. You know, my precious grandson is 6 years old, and he says that this is one of his favorite quotes now. It's teamwork makes the dream work. Teamwork makes the dream work, Gam Gams. And I told him to go ahead and pick up his toys the other day. He said, Gam Gams, will you do it with me? I said, Mijo, go ahead and take care of it. He said, teamwork makes the dream work, Gam Gam. So he got me. I said, you're right. Okay, you got me. So we did the teamwork. And I just really believe that we're better together. You know, I'm currently focused on building my team. And, you know, I could do this financial services by myself, but it's just more fun doing it together, the collaborations. You know, Think and Grow Rich talks about the power of the mastermind alliance. I believe that a rising tide raises all boats, but only if your boat is in the water. And what I mean by that is you showing up today. You've got your boat in the water. Whether you're joining us live or you're watching the replay, you are giving yourself an opportunity to invest this time in you. So today's going to be a lot of fun. I know you're going to have a great time here. And so without further ado, my guest speaker, he's actually a finance geek. And he actually has been in the real estate business for over 20 years. He loves to advise and give his clients expert advice. And he's been building teams for many decades. And he started in the Air Force. That's really where he started to see the power of building teams, the power of working together. And they say, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. So without further ado, please give it up for my incredible guest speaker, Mr. Brian Dickerson. The floor is yours. And the crowd goes wild.
Yes, cheers. So thank you. As you said, I am ex-Air Force. I was worked on F-15s in Eglin Air Force Base in Florida. That's where I first really learned about teamwork. I was a three-man team. I was what's called the two-man, and we basically kind of maintained readiness for the planes, and we each had our own jobs. And it was so much faster when we were working together versus doing it on our own when we were working there. So, and of course I was young. So of course you never realize what you'll learn until way later when something happens. So I ended up losing everything. I lost my house. I lost my, all my savings because I was paying off debt. My ex left me. Took my daughter with her, and I basically had to start over. And I lucked out because I had a mindset of I could have done better. What could I do different? And that started me really joining and creating kind of like a team. So I started looking for, financial people that were in the same direction. I'm a finance geek. I've been one since I was a little itty bitty kid. Drove my mom nuts. I'm watching He-Man one moment, Wall Street Journal the next. She wasn't sure what was going on. And so I started picking up books and started learning. And then I started meeting people with the same mindset I did. And they became part of my team in mentorship by taking them to coffee and to lunch and so on and so forth. So talking about teams, we have two things on my team that we talk about when we're talking about onboarding a new team member onto our team. We let them know that they have a choice. They can either have 100% of grape on their 100% of a grape on their own, or 50% of a watermelon when they join the team. So it's really based off of your mindset of what you're doing. And then also another one was divide the pain, multiply the gain. So it's always easier to hand something to somebody that's better than you are at something. Just sometimes we're control freaks. Sometimes, like me, sometimes we just don't understand what what we need to do or let go of. So I'm going to talk more about mindset and then how to start picking those team members, if that's, okay with you guys. If, I think that's where we usually need to start, is how we look at things.
Yeah.
So what's called a real estate planner. I do everything a real estate agent does, plus more. And one of them is I find out what my clients want, not only just this year or 3 years, but also 5 and 10 years later. And that's how you need to think about your life. You run a business. It's called your life, right? So put your name and then put business next to it, and that's your life. And there's only one employee or two if you're married to this business, right? And so the third possible is taking your money and making it work for you. I don't know about you, but I don't want to work the rest of my life. I would like to enjoy my life. And so having those team members in place to help reach that goal. So the first thing you want to do is take a moment and think, okay, where do I want to be in a year? Where do I want to be in 3 years? Where do I want to be in 5? And where do I want to be in 10? And the 10 is important because you then work backwards from there. So let's just say in 10 years, you want to be financially independent. We don't use the word rich in my family or wealthy in my family. We discuss it in the form of financially independence, because the financially independent don't talk about money. They talk about time, right? How much time do I want back when I become free to enjoy my life? All right. So we'll just use some numbers. So let's just say it costs $10,000 to live your life right now, right? Pay for your house, pay for your car, your electricity, insurance, all that stuff, but nothing on top of that. And then you're like, I would really enjoy an extra, say, $2,000 a month just for play money to go and travel or buy that vehicle I always wanted, or maybe that rental house in the Alps, or for me, maybe a small place in Aspen, right? Just things like that. That's how they think of life. So what you do is you go, okay, this is what I need, and then in so many years, and then you start looking for those team members that will help you get there. So I'm going to use a football analogy. You're the quarterback, you're calling the play, but everybody else has to do what you're saying. And it's okay to swap team members out. I actually had a client come up to me. He's like, Brian, I'm moving out of state. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to swap you out, because he was using my words against me. I'm like, I'm absolutely okay that. Would you like me to interview agents out where you're moving to find a replacement? Right? Because it's about taking care of the client. So let's go back to the $4,000. So what do we need? We need passive income coming in, maybe a really robust 401k, maybe a personal stock portfolio, that type of stuff. So then you start asking questions, who takes care of those? And then start asking them questions. So like one of my favorite things is when I talk to somebody that was going to talk to a financial planner, I say, this is what you need to tell them. I want to make X. I'm willing to give you Y. And how long will it take me to reach my goal? And if they say X amount of years and that's too far, then you need to say, okay, what do I need to do to reach the goal that I want in my time frame? And sometimes it's something they can do. Sometimes they have to work at it. But the idea is that you start asking questions, right? So let's expand upon that. So you've talked to a financial planner, right? But now you've realized that you don't want your kids just getting your your estate left over at the end of your life and do whatever they want with it, right? So a trust attorney would be great for that. I talked to one guy who does it, and he was talking about his trust, and his trust is set up so that way his kids will get money equal to what they save on their taxes every year. They bring their taxes to the trust attorney, show them, hey, I saved the $800 or $5,000 on my taxes. And they're like, okay, here's a $800 or $5,000, check, enjoy. So they're rewarded for saving money on their taxes. All right.
I love that, Brian. You know what? You've said a lot. Let's kind of unpack some of that. You got a lot of golden nuggets, and I know that you're going to share more with us. So I want to make sure that we're highlighting some of the things that you're sharing because you're dropping a lot of good stuff. We have a few people who have joined us. Thank you. Great to see you, Mark. And of course, we have Mr. Mike Drop is in the house, Mr. David Jones from the Hello LLC. And if you don't know him, you got to get to know him. They are I call them my superstars, him and Miss Tara Bush. They run Hello LLC. All of this production you see, some people call it a website. It's actually a smart link. It's a biz in a box. Everything you see, all the automations here, it is all because of them. I cannot take any credit for it. They make me look really, really good. So I want to kind of unpack a few things that you said because you've shared a lot of great wisdom. But I love that, I always say that in every adversity, there's a seed of a benefit, but only if we look for it. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes when we're in that mess, it's very difficult because we are feeling stressed, we're feeling overwhelmed, and maybe our self-esteem, you might have been starting to feel bad about yourself, but you were able to really flip the script and look at, okay, what can I learn from this and how can I change it? So I want to know when you were going through that, because I hear a lot of times people are going through things and sometimes they just feel like they want to give up. So when you were going through that, what encouraged you to start looking introspectively and looking at how you could actually learn from this and move forward?
So I, after losing everything, I had moved back in with my parents. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for, putting up with me for several years while I cleaned up the mess I made. I could have easily just blamed it on anybody, right? Play the victim card. But I realized that I had two important things in my life I had to do. First off, I had to realize that my daughter needed me. And so if I played the victim card, my daughter was just going to be kind of hosed in her life because I couldn't help her. The second one is I completely refused to be the person I was projecting to the world at the time. So, when it happens is when somebody hears you're getting a divorce, they're like, oh, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, and they play the, almost like kind of like you lost a family member situation here. And they wanted to console you and make you feel better. The reality is that in this situation, I made half the mess. And so I knew that I had to clean up my mess. I was taught that by my dad. I was taught that by my mom. And it just became one of those things that if I wanted to be a better person, I needed to get going and start working on it. So I started paying off the debt, start reading books, financial education books. There's a great book if you're a finance geek called The Creature from Jekyll Island. And it is written as a thief book. and it's about the creation of the Federal Reserve. And so, like I said, I'm a finance guy. I read all this crazy stuff. But I also picked up John Maxwell. And the most profound book I read was I think it's called The 13 Laws of Growth, if I remember correctly, or Immutable Laws or something.
Immutable Laws of Leadership. Yeah.
Yes. And so he, in his page, I think it's like 163, 169, there's a group of descriptions of what average is. And I was reading it, and then it hit me that one of those averages was describing me. And the description goes like this. When you're average, you're the best of the worst, or the worst of the best, the top or the bottom of the top. So so when somebody says I'm average, I look at them and I said, so what are you saying? Am I the best person in the worst category or the worst person in the best category? And I refused to be that. So I started growing and asking questions, talking to people, and reset. So I stopped blaming other people and I focused on myself. And surprisingly enough, I learned something. I always get this question. I said, do you have any regrets with your life? And I have to explain to them that regrets are moments in time that you didn't learn something. So instead of people going, oh, you must feel bad about all your what happened during your marriage and blah, 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 this and that, I said, I learned a lot from that. And so what happened was I became an avid learner to make myself better. And then I ended up hanging out with people with the same mindset. So like last week, you had that lovely lady who was talking about the DISC profile, right? She was talking about Tony Stark, right? Who on the DISC profile would be what's called a CI, right? High thinker, but very in the, hey, look at me situation. I am what's called a CD, right? So I'm a thinker and then a doer. So I'm more like Dr. Doom than Tony Stark, than Iron Man, right? And so I just, I get in there and I get it done. And then I started learning that I needed to find people who spoke my language so I could become better. So for if you're looking to find a financial advisor and you're a D, don't find somebody who wants to talk to you about their feelings and how you feel about your money, right? Because all you're going to do is shut down and never go back. And then you want to find somebody who speaks your language. And so I find a lot of people that are highly CDs are really my people, right? I understand what I'm doing, Brian. This is what you need to know. If you have a question, ask it and I'll tell you, right? But other than that, let me do my job. And
that's so good. I love that you're referencing Stacey Mulligan. That was an incredible. If you did not watch last week about the DISC profile, even if it's something that you feel you don't believe in, it's a great way to learn some things about people you're interacting with and really who is your best client. I love that. So we have a few more people who've joined us. I want to shout them out, but definitely I'd love to hear more. So we have the amazing, oh my goodness, of course, we have our menopause mentor, dietitian, Miss Lisa Favec. She's an incredible resource. If you're a woman and looking to improve your health, please reach out to her. Even if you're a man and you have a woman in your life, please reach out to her. We did an incredible show yesterday that I had a lot of fun. We talked about how finances are involved with, how do they impact us as we age, and I say get better, right? Like fine wine. And then we have our Queen Dr. Leslie Flowers in the house. She is our errata, what do we say? She's taking us on an errata adventure, and she's our Think and Grow Rich. You talk about money mindset, Brian. We got to get to know Miss Queen Dr. Leslie Flowers. She teaches us about Think and Grow Rich every Friday. It's 7 a.m. That's my gym time, but I listen in. I'm not sure Pacific time, but I'm not sure wherever you are. Look it up. Definitely tune in, because if you want to upgrade your stinking thinking, you definitely have to reach out and go to her class. It's free, which is one of my favorite F words. So absolutely, Brian, I love what you're sharing, and I love that you shout out Miss Stacey, because that was a really fun show for me. So let's talk about, you're talking about being financially independent, the mindset. I'm all about that. I call it our growth money mind shift for me. This is just for me. When we talk about growth mindset, it's like two contradicting. Growth is something that's vibrant, it's thriving, and a mindset, something that's set is sedentary. We set it, it's static. So I talk about a growth money mind shift. That's just my 2 cents. But I'd love for you to share more about how does this all impact our team building? Like how does that impact us, and why should should we care about impacting?
So how this impacts your team building is that you get to first off know yourself, know what your goal is, right? And then you can set those standards to those people that are working with you. And if they can't, be completely honest with yourself. I respect loyalty. Don't get me wrong. Loyalty is great, but the problem is that your loyalty could hurt you financially or slow you down financially. There was a great story about the families crossing the plains in the beginning of the United States, and the most important person was the head. They fed and all that stuff. You have to think of yourself as the most important person, and you need to make sure that you're taken care of so you can take care of everybody around you that you want to take care of. So what you need to do is you need to start writing down, what is my goal? What do I see my life as? And then start preparing for it. If you want to travel, let's just say we want to financially be able to afford to travel. There's more than just financial. There's also health, right? And knowledge that you need to take into that realm. So talking to your financial planner and say, hey, I'm 45 and I want to retire at 60 so I can travel while I'm still healthy, right? Is great having them do that. But the problem is now you need to say, okay, now how do I stay healthy, right? And then have your financial planner say, okay, to have a trainer at the gym is an extra $100 a month, right? So I need to work that into my plan. So now instead of, as we said at the beginning, $4,000 a month, now it's $4,400 a month that I need coming in because I need to pay for my trainer and my gym. And so, in connecting with those people, and don't just think of them as separate. Please don't. Think of them as interconnected, right? Like the football analogy, the quarterback calls the plays, he throws it to the runner, right? But the runner still needs blockers and all those other things. So many people don't bring their tax attorney into the conversation about what their future is, right? I had a great conversation with a client who I was suggesting. He goes, hey, Brian, I just got a promotion. Everything's great. I said, you should talk to your tax provider to see how to protect it. And the tax provider, this is what the question was. Do you need the money? And the answer was, no, I don't need the money. It's just kind of nice to have. He goes, well, the problem is it bumped you up a tax bracket. So you'd be paying more. So let's take that money you don't need and put it towards your 401k, because then it'll drop you back down to the tax bracket, and then you'll get that money later. Right? You have those conversations. You're a business owner and you want to buy a piece of property. Your taxes have to match what the loan officer says you have to make to buy it. So think of them as interactive, right? So my tax provider does my books for my business and for myself. Not my books, but my taxes. So they're integrated together. But I also have conversations with them on a regular basis about what we want in the future, right? And how to get that done. The trust attorney, the same thing, right? My goal is to have generational wealth, right? My great grandkids can go to college and not have to worry about it. So I talked to my trust attorney and they recommended what's called a Rockefeller Trust. Never heard of it, but because I had a conversation what I wanted in the future, he was able, this is what my recommendation is, Brian. This is how this looks. This is how it works, and we can make it happen. All right. Same with protecting your lifestyle. Bringing in an estate planner, right, for just everything. So bringing them together is interactive as much as possible. I talked to one gentleman who makes really good money, and he pays I think it was like 20 grand to have them all come in for lunch for 3 hours. Right. But the thing was, is he's like, all right, it's 20 grand. Everybody's like, that's a lot of money. He goes, yeah, but they saved me 100 grand on taxes. And then I make another $150,000 a year. So integrating your team together is highly important. Making sure they know what your plan is, not only just this year, but 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years from now, because then they can start you now. So there's an old proverb that says the best time to to plant a tree for shade was 20 years ago. The next one is today. So if you want to enjoy the shade of your financial wealth in 20 years or 10 years or 5 years, however you are, you need to start planting those trees that build that financial shade for you by finding those team members, right?
Absolutely. And we're going to take a quick break for our word from our sponsor. But now I think you guys know why I love Brian, because does some of this sound familiar to you folks? Does it sound like the thing that I talk about all the time? I say that if you're a estate planning attorney, your tax attorney, your CPA, and your insurance agent, your licensed life and health insurance agent, don't have a weekly conversation. I love having an annual, but my clients enjoy a weekly conversation. So that way everything is working in concert, because if one note is out of tune, it ruins the whole symphony. So we're going to take a quick break from our sponsor and we will be right back. I want to hear your questions. What questions do you have for Brian?
Are you ready to take control of your financial future? Introducing Leah Garcia's Wall of Wealth, the ultimate one-page financial plan to protect, distribute, and transfer your wealth with confidence. Whether you're a business owner or just starting your financial journey, this step-by-step guide gives you the tools to create a solid foundation for long-term success. Don't wait to transform your money mind shift. Download your free copy today at leahgarcia.io and start building your wall of wealth now.
You're my soulmate, Brian, because when you talk about building that dynasty, right? I always talk about being my family. I promise you, those of you who are younger than me, you're going to know this. You're going to say, oh yeah, Leah said that. I will be that photo above the fireplace, and my great, 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 great grandchildren will say, this is why we have what we have. This is why we don't have to worry about having food on the table and a roof over our head. It's because what your great, 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 great grandmother did. So I absolutely love that. And you were sharing about, think of the life that you want to have in 10 years. And I call it reverse engineering. Know what you want, and then what is that going to require of you to be able to achieve that? And if, let's say, your financial advisor says you need $1,000 a month, I'm just doing easy math, right? And you say, you know what, I don't have that. Okay, how can you reduce your taxes? So it's not just always about making more money, it's about what we're spending. Let's look at some areas we can eke out a few dollars. Maybe we're overpaying on our insurance, right? And things like that. So maybe you make some adjustments, or, right, you increase your income. And I never call it a sacrifice. I don't believe in the word sacrifice. I think that word should be banned. I like the exchange principle. So maybe what is it that we're going to exchange? Maybe we're going to exchange not going through the drive-thru so we can eke out a few more dollars to pour into our future. Don't look for a sale on your future. Don't be cheap on your future. Don't discount it, because you know what? There is no discount for retirement. It is never on sale. It always costs more than we think. So I love what you're sharing, Brian. So say more about like this reverse engineering. How did you come up with that?
I ended up taking a class called How Billionaires Think. And basically what they do is they start at the end and then work their way back, right? If I need to make this happen, what needs to happen along the way? So that way I know what I need to start today. So like I teach, I share a lot of my stuff with my clients, and we do what's called a financial education class every 2 months. We invite all our entire client base in. We even open it up to the general public now, and we basically do what's called a financial statement. And so it has 4 boxes. We go through all the boxes. We talk about how the money works, how it flows, how the financially independent think. So a lot of times when I start the class, a lot of people are like, well, I'm paying off debt. Da, 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 da. That's great, right? Can I show you something that might be a little bit better? And so we talk about we use water because we talk about flow a lot in the class. And we tell them that your debt side is a desert, your asset side is an orchard, right? Which one do you want water to go to? And so usually they start to see things slightly different. And about 6 months later, they start seeing things differently because they start doing this. Their lives change. And so what happens is after that mindset shift, like you always talk about, your mind changes direction. You then can start having those conversations about the future because they're always stuck in that current status until they change their mind shift. And so we talk about, all right, where do you see your life in a year? Where do you see your life in 2 years? Where do you see your life in 5 years? I have some clients who are like, Brian, my kids are 3. I want to buy a house here. At this point, we want to move into a bigger house because we plan on having 3 children. They're planners. It's really interesting. And so we're working on getting their house the max amount of money they can get. So that way they can, and they're already picking neighborhoods and their kids aren't even old enough to move yet. Right. But some people are more like, I can't picture 3 years out. Right. And I'm like, all right, let's just do 3 years then. Let's just look at 3 years. Where do you want to be in 3 years? Because you have to start looking forward in your life. Right. And then you can start bringing in those people to make it happen. Right. And so the idea of looking in the advance gives you an idea. There's a great thing that financially independent and high thinkers do is they close their eyes and they wait, they take about 45 seconds to a minute thinking about all the things they want to look at or do in 5-10 years. And they picture what it would look like, how they feel. And then they go back and say, okay, this is how we want to make it happen. Right. Now, if you're building your team, you need to get them to buy into your vision, right? Not just simply, hey, I want to make $4,000. You need to let Leah know, right? Because you're my financial planner in this example. Leah know, say, hey, I want $4,000 a month because I want to travel to Italy for a month. I want to go to London for a week. I want to go to Sydney for 3 weeks, right? And I don't want to do it in the 4th passenger seat in the back of coach for 18 hours to Sydney. I want the first class spot, right? I don't want to have to go through and, get a taxi. I want somebody to drive me around that knows the city of Sydney to take me on a tour so I can enjoy it, right? So you get them to buy into your vision. So like my vision is what's called generational wealth, right? We have a generational house that the head of the household will get to stay in, right? They'll get a per diem every month to run the house, right? And the money goes to helping our generations go to college or buy a house and stuff like that. And we don't give the money, right? We don't say, oh, here's your money, enjoy your new house. It's we're the bank, right? You've talked to a loan officer. You qualify for $350. So let's go out, right? And go find your house for $350. We'll pay cash for it, right? And then you have to pay us back because we're the bank. And if you don't pay us back, unfortunately, your mother's not in charge. I am, so I'm taking the house, right? Because they're like, Mom, she's the softie, especially with our grandson now. Right? If Grayson could get anything he wanted, Grandma would buy it. If he could talk at the moment. When he starts talking, he gets whatever he wants. And so what happens is my job as head of the household is not only to make them be able to take care of themselves, but also make sure that I can take care of Grayson and Grayson's kids and Grayson's kids and so on and so forth. So there's rules and stuff. So I'm thinking not just 10 years, I'm thinking generational, right? 3, 4, 5, 6 generations. What is required for education for my kids so that they don't blow their money. The old adage is my grandfather walked. My great grandfather walked. My grandfather owned a beat up truck. My dad owned a luxury car. I owned a supercar. my grandkid, my son owns a super car, and my grandson is walking because we blew through all the money, right? Being part of your team may be consisting of bringing in a family bookkeeper to watch all the books. So I get a flag on my phone from the bookkeeper saying, hey, things are looking kind of hard for your son. You need to have a conversation with him. They're not going to share details, but I can call up and say, hey, listen, what's going on? I gotta, hey, reach out to you about, whatever, right? Maybe bringing in a financial tutor for your kids, those part of your teams. So
that's such good stuff.
Yeah. So start with yourself, building out what you want in the future, and then start bringing in those team members. And remember, they're interchangeable. If one is not doing their job, right, to the level that you need it to, change them out with somebody else, right? If you watch successful football teams, right, they get rid of the player, the subpar or the good ones, and they only go for great, right? And that's how they get Super Bowl champions. That's how they go to the Super Bowl, is because they have, they're always looking for the great ones to replace the not so great ones. So you may have to do that. You may call me up one day and say, Brian, I'm sorry, I got to trade you out. Right? I'm looking for a first draft receiver, and unfortunately, you're past your prime. Right? I'm going to be hurt. I admit it. I'll ask for a coaching position on your team, right? Because I don't want to leave, but I understand.
That's awesome. We have a few more people who joined us, and I want to know your questions. And I want to highlight a few comments. This is why she's our queen doctor. She always has words of wisdom, and she shared this incredible comment. She said, so starting with the end in mind, I call it reverse engineering. And our queen doctor, Leslie Flowers, says it is one of the 12 laws of achievement. Do you see what I'm saying? You got to get to the Think and Grow Rich on Fridays at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern. It is a free mastermind, and you will learn so much about money and how our mind shift, right? And also, I want to welcome the incredible Nick Galindo. Thank you for joining us, Nick. If you're looking to publish a book, or somebody's looking to publish a book, this is a person for you. I promise you, she will take really good care of you. And she's just so much fun to talk about. We had a coffee chat that was supposed to be a 15-minute coffee chat. I think we ended about 2.5 hours later. I'm not really sure, but we had a great time. And she said, also, Queen Dr. Leslie Flower says, like board members, you can change them out. That's correct. Yes. And so much of what you're talking about, Brian, is what I really do. So it makes perfect sense to me. We have to have a team of professionals. The old days is we had people working in their silos. Your realtor was just your realtor. They didn't do anything else but buy and sell real estate. Your tax professional was just there sharpening the pencil and filling in the boxes. These days, you need holistic and proactive planning, which requires your team to be on the same sheet of music. If your CPA does not know your estate planning attorney, you're in trouble, because they're going to be constantly pulling you in different directions. And what will happen is you will be confused, and a confused mind does nothing. So in order for us to have clarity when it comes to our money, is that we need our financial professionals all on the same sheet of music. I meet with my client and their team every single week. It is required if I'm going to work with you, because I don't want something to happen that they got that raise, they bought a new business, they sold a property, and now we have a tax liability that they didn't think about the capital gains or in another tax bracket, and we didn't have time to do any advanced tax planning. So I love it. You are absolutely right, 1,000%. And yes, I did enjoy that. I think we have to call it was more like a lunch date. I think it was. We had a good time. So what other words of wisdom can you drop on us, Mr. Brian?
Well, I'm going to take it up a little bit of a notch on the IQ level of finances. So we started out with, just that general idea of, $4,000. We brought in a health expert to get us ready for our travel, right? It's, that extra $400. But the thing is the board that we play on as financial, intelligent people is always changing, is always shifting, right? So what happens is you're not only does your financial planner need to understand that, you're expecting $4,400 a month, but they also need to say, okay, inflation is X and the value is dropping. So we need to add another 3% every year or 4% to the value of what it is. So that way you can grow. Also, one of my financial advisors that I was talking to, we were discussing the tariffs that's, on the news all the time, right? And so we were talking about it. And of course, it's a high level one, but he broke it down very simple. It's a sales tax, right? You buy a car, you pay it once, right? And so everybody was talking about how, how terrible that is. But he goes, but if you watch what's going on, you'll notice that the person who put the tariffs out, would you love them or hate them, is also working on getting rid of federal income tax under a certain amount. So in the old days, when we were based off of tariffs, right? When we were born as a country, we were based off of tariffs. And then the government said, well, we need more money, more steady money. And so let's take it from the people before they even get paid, right? And hence came income tax. And they, of course, said it's only on the wealthy, right? Unfortunately, my son makes minimum wage at the job he's currently working. He isn't wealthy. I know what he makes, and he still pays income tax. So what you need to do is you need to think, okay, this is where I want to be. What are those things, like the billionaires say? What do I need to do on the way there to make sure that I reach that goal? And sometimes it's just simply saying, okay, all right, so I want 4,400 if I were to retire today. What's in, and then what do I actually need to do it back then, right, at that time, right? And have that conversation. It's important to bring your team members, as you said, Leah, if they're not talking, you get confused, right? I actually had two clients. The first one was he wanted to buy a house, but he says he couldn't because his accountant made it look like he made like over $100,000 a year. So buying a property shouldn't have been a problem. But the problem is his tax looked like he only made $110 a year because the accountant was writing everything off. Yeah. And that's their job, right? I'm not arguing. I'm not saying that's bad. But the problem was he wanted to buy a house and he was forced to rent. So we had a conversation with the loan officer about how much he needed to make to buy what he wanted. And then he went back to his accountant and said, okay, my next tax thing, I need you to show I make X. And he goes, the tax guy almost had a heart attack because he's like, that's not what I do. I save you as much money as I possibly can, but that wasn't matching the goal. And then another one, I just advised not too long ago, he wanted to release one of their investment properties. They wanted to clean out their portfolio. I said, talk to your tax person, talk to your tax person, talk to your tax person. And he's like, no, I already know it. Then I finally get a call from him, hey, I'm talking to my tax person tomorrow. I'm like, great, perfect. Then I get a text message, Brian, we need to wait a year to sell the property. I'm like, okay, what's up? And he goes, well, I talked to my tax guy, like you suggested, and they said, if I wait until I retire, which is in a year, I'll pay less in taxes if I take the money. And I'm like, then we wait a year, right? That's my job, right? I make sure you tell me what your goal is. We create the plan and then we make it happen. That's my job. So your job is to figure out what you want, then start finding those people in your team to build the plan out because they know the rules. If you know the rules, you can create a plan, right? It's like Monopoly, okay? Like, if you play against a professional Monopoly player, you'll notice they never buy hotels. They only buy houses because you can't buy a hotel until you trade in the houses. So they lock out everybody getting hotels because they have all the houses. You know the rules, you can create a winning game plan, and you can take them on. So start first with yourself. Become that person to say, okay, what do I want? Take a moment, write it down. What do I want to be in 3, 5, 10 years, right? What my future looks like. Then start talking to people about what you need to do to get there, and then start building that team with you. right? And make sure to not just look at that one little thing, because that's called tunnel vision, right? I only want to do this and just focus on it. That's great in some parts, but in life, that's not how it works, right? You need to look a little bit beyond that, right? I want to be healthy, right? I want to go to Italy, right? Maybe you get a language coach that will teach you Italian and you can enjoy it even more, right? So think about what you want and then start building your team. And don't forget, as what was it? Leslie said, they're like board members, right? Fire one and put another one in, right? Because your board of directors, you're in charge of your business, needs to make sure that you're headed in the direction that you want, right? And you don't have to worry about being fired. You're in charge. So, and who knows, maybe your plan changes, right? And your team needs to know what your plan was, right? I tell Leslie, hey, I'm going to Italy in 10 years, first class. I'm going to stay on the beach. I'm going to ride a motorcycle. And then, 5 years later, find out, I just don't want to do that anymore. And I need to change directions. I want to go somewhere else, but I need to let her know that. So that way, if there's any changes to it that need to be made, they need to be made, right? You're going to travel, get travel insurance. Didn't even know that was a thing until I talked to a professional, right? I'm like, what's travel insurance? Well, something happens to you. Something gets lost. All these different things that can happen while you're traveling, right? It's a little bit extra. Talk to a financial guy and he goes, Brian, don't take your debit card or your credit card. Open up another credit card, right? Go to the bank, say, I need a credit card with like a $4,000 balance, right? And take that with you. So if it gets stolen, it's maxed out at $4,000, right? And when you come back, pay it off and close it out. It's just, professionals help you get where you want to be. And I'm a big believer in teams because I started by myself. I lost everything by myself. And then when I started bringing these team members in, my life grew, my experiences grew, my knowledge grew. And now I'm not thinking, how do I put food on my table? Now it's, how do I pay for my grandson's college? Right.
Exactly.
So if you're,
I love that.
Yeah. So if this has helped, right, with your mindset a little bit and thinking about, having a conversation with one of your team members, have a conversation, call them up. Well, maybe not your tax provider today, right? Talk to them in like 2 weeks when they've calmed down from doing all the taxes, right? And invite them out to coffee. Say, hey, this is my plan for next year, right? What do I need to do? How can I make that happen, right? Talk to your, like earlier, if you're getting a promotion or a pay raise, talk to your tax provider and see how you can protect it, right? Because the first thing that happens is your money from your check have like what, 30%, we'll say, conservatively disappears from your check, right? And then goes off to wherever, sits there. And then at the end of the year, when you talk to your tax guy, they have to prove that you deserve some of your money back. So have those conversations with those people. It's very important. I know I kind of went on a tangent here and there, but so just sit down, grab a piece of paper, write down 1, 3, 5, and 10 years where you want to be, right? Think about what needs to happen on 10 years to make sure that your 5-year happens, to make sure your 3-year happens and your 1 year happens, so you know what you're starting today, right? And then start asking the question, who do I need in that situation?
Yeah,
right?
That's so brilliant. And when you're ready to set up your goals, again, reach out to Queen Dr. Leslie Flowers. She has an incredible goal setting system, a 12-week system. I'm telling you, it will blow your mind. She taught it beginning of the year. I hope she does it again. And when she does, if she does, definitely reach out to her and take that class. So a lot of times, especially a lot of entrepreneurs and self-employed people, business owners watch my show Connected With, and they do what I call money checkers. They make some money to pay some money. They make some money to pay some money. My 6-year-old grandson, my daughter is really brilliant. She taught him chess. He knows how to play chess. And so we were playing and he beat me. Okay, let's just get that out of the way. But anyway, he noticed the other pieces that were for checkers, and he said, "How do we use these, Gam Gam?" So I showed him how to play checkers, and I'm explaining the rules to him. He says, "Okay, how does this one move?" "Oh, well, it moves forward." "Well, how does this one move?" "Okay, that one moves forward." He's like, "Well, that's boring." I said, "I agree," because he's used to playing chess where the pieces can all move differently. And so I think that we need to upgrade to money chess. And what I mean by that is if you're going to make some money, then we know 5 or 6 moves down the road on how to mitigate, eliminate, and minimize those taxes. So my clients would never wait a year to sell a house. If that's what we're doing, in my humble opinion, that's playing money checkers. So we need to have advanced planning, advanced tax planning. That's why we have Tax Tips Tuesday, right? Every other week. So I love this. This was a lot of fun. I love the mastermind. I love that you're so passionate because I love talking about money too. So that's why you're my soulmate. So you've done a lot of things. What is on the horizon for you? What can we prepare to see in this year as we stand up and rise up and prepare to thrive? What is it on the horizon for you, Brian?
My horizon, well, one of them in June is to go see my grandson for his first birthday. So that's on my horizon. And then basically it's to grow my team so that way I can help more people with on the real estate side, build out their future. And then also bring in more team members on my side to help grow out that, that generational wealth. It's easier when I have somebody working in the background so I can focus on what I'm good at. The running back doesn't have to worry about, how to throw a ball. All he has to do is know where he needs to be at the time he's supposed to be and hopes that the quarterback is throwing it to him versus somebody else. But either way, he knows what he's supposed to do and where he's supposed to be. And he focuses on that and expects the team to cover everything else. My son was a lineman on football, and everybody claims, hey, the quarterback, it was this, it was that. But a lot of the quarterbacks and stuff will go up to linemen and say thank you at the end of the game because they know lineman wins games. If they're not there, quarterback's getting crunched. If the linemen aren't there, there's no one to block to let the runner through. So it's all those different things that you need to understand that your team needs to be integrated into one, know what everybody wants. And that's what I'm doing with my team is building them out so that way we can get what we want in our future. I mean, I would really love to do some traveling on my own, and it's not in the cards at the moment, but it is in the future. And I make sure my team knows that. Sydney would be a beautiful place to go. And honestly, flying coach in the 4th back row, right, crunched between 8 other people, right, for 16 hours is not what it sounds like to be fun for me, right? But I've seen those first class pods, and I'm like, I could live with that for 16 hours, right? My own little room where I get to do all that stuff. So I picture the future, and then I see what I need to do to make that happen. How do I make that happen? And so one of the things that I'm going to leave as the last kind of a tidbit is if you're changing your finances a little bit, a lot of times people will go on what's called starvation diet financially. So what I would recommend is that you have whatever's left over and you break it into 3 pots, right? And some people know who this came from, but I'll just 50% of it goes into my investment account, right? That way I'm always growing money. Then 25% goes into my emergency fund. This is oops, my car got hit by a meteor and now I need to buy a new one. And then the last one is my play money, right? The money that I get to do and go do whatever I want. I want to ride my motorcycle. I want to travel to see my grandson. I want to go out to dinner, whatever it is, I have money to do it. And then what happens is your investment team will grow your money, and then your money coming down to where it's left over will be bigger and bigger and bigger, right? To where you actually have $2,400 of play money, right, to go play with because everything else is taken care of.
Good stuff. You made a lot of friends here. I know people are going to want to connect with you, reach out to you. What's the best way for people to reach you, Brian?
The best way to reach for me would most likely be text. I get 9,000 emails a day, so emailing me is kind of, you'll get lost. So texting me would probably be, if you want to direct or instant, hit me up in LinkedIn. I get my notifications on my phone on a regular basis for that as well. You need to get a hold of me. My text message would probably be best. I can put it in comments if you want.
Yeah.
Make it easier on everybody. So
yep. Go ahead and put your contact information in the comments. I know people are going to want to reach out to you and learn more about building their team, and also how to buy and sell real estate. There you go, right there. Perfect. So that's going to kind of do it for us. I do have my little outro, but I'm going to come back. Don't leave, because I'm going to come back for my takeaways, my golden nuggets, and we'll see you in just 1 minute.
Hey there, I'm Leah Garcia. Have you ever wanted a career where you truly make a difference in people's lives? I'm building a team of driven financial and insurance professionals, people who want to help families and businesses protect, distribute, and transfer their wealth with confidence. If you're passionate about guiding others to achieve financial security, then you're exactly who I'm looking for. Join my supportive, growth-oriented environment and unlock your full potential. Ready to take the next step? Visit leahgarcia.io and let's start building your future together.
Well, today was a lot of fun. We heard a lot of words of wisdom, and I am a financial professional, financial strategist, but I'm not your financial strategist unless we're working together. So remember, as always, do your own research, do your own due diligence, seek out your own professionals, because generic advice is just generic. Never take generic advice as your own personal recommendations, is what I say. And you know what? I love what you shared, and I talk a lot about this. Sometimes people talk about buying a home. My vision right now is I'm thinking about buying a family block. Like, I want my kids to live by me. I want my grandchildren to grow up near me. And that's possible. We can all do that. But it's about stretching our vision, stretching what we believe is possible. And I love what you shared, Brian, about, having that family bank. I call it creating that family dynasty. And what I mean by that is, what if you had a system in place, that Rockefeller Trust? And so when you needed to buy a car, you went to your family dynasty, you went to your own family bank, and nobody was going to worry about a credit score, looking and verifying your income, verifying your employment. Just because of your last name, you had the right to borrow that money and pay it back on your own terms. What if when you were ready to buy that new home or start that business, instead of having to go through all of that where they have to see all your financials, you went through the family bank of the Dickerson family. You went to the family bank. My family is going to go to the family Garcia family bank. And just because of their last name, just because of their bloodline, they will be entitled to take out that loan, because I'm the one that's changing my last name forever, just like you're the one in your family, Brian. And I just believe that anybody who's connected with me, if you're here, it's because you are the one in your family that is supposed to change your family's last name forever. It is a huge responsibility. I understand that, but it is possible. I promise you, no matter where you are financially or where you think you're not, you can start right now. You can push the restart button right now and go from zero to hero and change your family's dynasty forever. So I had a lot of fun. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate all the comments. Thank you for all of you who come out every single week. Remember, put in the comments what you do. Queen Dr. Leslie Flowers, we need to see your links. Nick, how do people reach you? I want you to share your links, because somebody is looking for you and what you do. And so that's going to do it for this week. Any last words, Brian? Anything else you would like to share?
Just take control now, and then that way you have an idea, and then vision what you want in the future, and then start building that team to make it happen. You don't have to do it all yourself, and you don't have to push it off just because you're busy right now, because their job is taking care of it while you're doing your job.
I love it. Teamwork makes the dream work. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your Wealthy Wednesday. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.